everyone, today I'm doing another Mashup review. So I've done a lot of Mashup reviews on my channel this past year and I really enjoy doing them. Basically what a Mashup review on my channel is I take 3 books that are kind of within the similar genre and review them all for you in one video. They're spoiler free, I tell you what the book is about, what I thought about it, and my rating. I try to keep them each very, very short. You will hear about them again in my wrap up at the end of the month, but I thought this will delve in a little bit about each particular book without me having to make a single book review for every single book I read. Today is an adult Mashup review. I'll be talking about today are The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna, The Queen of Hearts by Kimberly Martin, and The Woman in the Window by A.G. Finn. Like I said, these two are kind of literary fiction. This one's more like kind of historical, but it's in the 70s, so I don't know if you would technically count that as historical, I don't know. This one is kind of chick litty, also could be kind of literary fiction, and this one is your mystery thriller. So if you're interested in hearing only one of the books I talk about today, I will leave all the timestamps down below in the info box, and you know which time I talk about each book, and let's just get on to talking about all of these books. The first book, like I said, is The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. This is her latest release. This is my second Kristen Hanna book. I know I'm very, very behind on her books. She has like over 20 books out. It's a feat getting into them, so I'm just taking my time slowly with them. The other book of hers, if you're interested, that I've read is The Nightingale, which I loved, and I love this one as well. So this one is an historical fiction and kind of literary fiction, technically both. This takes place in the 70s, so I don't know if I would call that really historical fiction, because to me, honestly, the 70s feel like 30 years ago, but it's definitely been a lot more than that. I don't know what is, like my mind is always thinking I'm like in the late 90s and early like 2000s. So sorry for the lighting changes. The sun keeps going in and out of the clouds, so that's what's happening. So basically in this book, the year is 1974. We follow a family, the Albrights, and we have Ernst, who he just got home from the Vietnam War. He was a prisoner of war. He has a wife named Cora, and they have a daughter named Lenny, who is 13 at the beginning of this novel. And what's interesting about this novel is that it is told from Lenny's point of view. And basically this family is very broken. They keep moving around because her dad can't ever find work, and he's really damaged from the war, and he's just, it's a very brittle time in their lives. So basically Ernst discovers that somebody has left him a lot of land in this really deep part of Alaska. So the Albrights up and moved to Alaska in this like town called Kanique. I can't pronounce it correctly. It's a fictional town, but basically if you look at Alaska, it's kind of near Homer in Alaska. So when I think of Alaska, I think you think of a lot of the main parts of Alaska, like Anchorage and things like that. This family goes deep into the Alaska, like where there's not a lot of power. They have to do a lot of generators. They have to fuel things by fire. You have to catch a lot of what you want killed. There's like one general store within like, 50 to 100 miles. You maybe have one neighbor that's like 5 miles away. So they are in a really deep part of Alaska. So this family just drops everything, moves to Alaska, try to start fresh, and they try to repair the damaged relationships they all have. And basically this whole book is surviving in Alaska. That is a feat in itself, but when you go into this deep part of Alaska, it's a whole different thing. Like throughout the very beginning of this book, everyone that the Albrights met at the beginning were like, oh, you better prepare for winter. Mind you, at the beginning of this book, they moved there in May, so winter is a long time away. No, people prep for winter like nobody's business. It's like Game of Thrones, like winter is coming, you better get your crap ready for winter. So winter is a very desolate time in Alaska. I think at one point in this book, they had maybe 5 hours of sunlight a day. That's how, dark it would get. And in the summer, it would stay light like until 10, 11 p.m. and you maybe got a couple hours of dusk. So these seasons in Alaska are very, very different from the seasons that, are kind of every day for us. So it was very interesting to read about that. They have Alaska as this beautiful, almost like a character in this book, if you will. You got to read more about Alaska, and it was very interesting. But more importantly, this book is about the family, in particular Lenny. Like I said, we follow Lenny's point of view throughout this whole book, and by the beginning of this book, she starts as 13, but the book progresses obviously through years, and I think it ends with her around either like 24 or 25. So you get to see a lot of Lenny growing up and how she is the way she is. And it was a very hard book to read, I'm not gonna lie to you, because like I said, Ernst, her dad, was in the Vietnam War, and he was a prisoner of war, and he came back very damaged. So he drinks a lot, and he abuses his wife a lot, and he would have nightmares, and it was just very hard and scary to read about that. So, having Lenny, reading it from Lenny's point of view, is seeing what's happening to her mom, and and it just is very scary, and he would get very, very scared even like in the dark. So I'm like, oh, we were going to a place where it's gonna be winter for like freaking 8 months. I don't know if that's the best idea ever. So basically this book is just about a broken family, and you're reading about them become even more broken. You're reading about this man that's just kind of losing himself and what's happened to him over this war, and it's just, it's a hard book to read about. But even though it's hard, I flew through it because I was so gripped by it. Kristen Hanna's writing is just beautiful. There has not been a book of hers, this is my second, like I said, that I've read that I haven't felt captivated completely by the story. So overall, I gave this book a 5 out of 5. I wasn't surprised by that at all because I love her writing. I love the message that this book displayed. I love about relationships. Lenny was very close to her mom, and her mom was very scared to leave her dad, but she was also very much in love with her dad, and she didn't know what to do. But Lenny and her mom had such a beautiful relationship. Sometimes it would be hindrance, and Lenny also discovers love as well. And the dad's very, adverse to change because they're in this town, and this town's a very small community, so they're all kind of like family. And whenever something changes in the town, the husband does not cope well with it. He gets very upset, and he kind of just wants to like put his family away from everybody else, just to keep his wife and his daughter locked up forever so no one can ever touch them. And it gets very scary. A beautiful state that is Alaska was amazing to read about. Was amazing to read about. I think the whole message of this book is, that they're in this final frontier, this very scary part of Alaska, but the dangers aren't outside of their door. They're very much inside of the door, heading to their father. So overall, I would definitely recommend this book. With all of her books, I think you just really need to prep yourself because they're so intense and just so gripping. This one did start off a little bit slow. I think most of her books tend to do so, at least that's what I've heard. But once you get in it, and it will hook you, and 5 out of 5. Loved it. I've talked a lot about it already. The next book I'm going to talk about is The Queen of Hearts by Kimberly Martin. It's a chick lit literary fiction. I would honestly kind of describe this as a chick lit book, and basically we follow two main characters in this book. We get both of their point of views, and we have Zadie and we have Emma. Zadie and Emma met a long time ago, like in medical school camp or something. Basically they've had a friendship ever since. This book, like I said, we follow 2 points of view, but we also pivot back and forth between the present time and the past. And whenever we go back to the past, we go back to their 3rd year of medical residency, and basically something has happened during that year that has really haunted them both. And in the present time, we having a familiar face from the 3rd year come back, and it haunts them once again. So in this book, we have Zadie and Emma, who are both now married with kids, and they're both very happy. Emma is a surgeon, and she really loves her job, and Zadie is a cardiologist. And this book, I'd say if you were a fan of ER, if you're a fan of Grey's Anatomy, if you're a fan of any medical drama, or if you just love medical shows, medical books, this is the perfect book to read for you. This book is like literally about 2 doctors. You get to see them go through their 3rd year of residency. They get to like help the surgeons. They get to, rotate between different departments. I really was a big Grey's Anatomy watcher way back in the day. I stopped watching it a few seasons ago because, good lord, there are so many seasons. There's only so many love triangles, love hexagons, different crazy medical conditions you can like watch. So I've kind of quit the show, but I still like keep up with it, like what news is happening on it. But either way, good lord, this is like the perfect book for you if you're a big Grey's Anatomy fan, which I know there's a ton of you guys out there are because, it's a very popular show. But, just reading about their 3rd year of residency was really interesting. I really loved it. This definitely delves into the medical like terminology and things like that. You get to learn more about, why each of them chose what their careers are. You also get to see how their life is now with balancing between both their jobs and with their husbands and their kids. It was very, very much hectic. And basically we have this figure that comes back in their past that, something has happened, and Emma's keeping a secret from Zadie, and that kind of all comes to a head. And I don't want to tell you anything more about this book because I feel like it would give it away. Overall, I gave this book a 3.5, maybe close to 4. I did really enjoy it. It kept me gripped. It definitely started out a little bit slow, but once you got to be familiar with like, kind of switching back to present and to past, it was really quick read. It was a really quick read. It is kind of a mystery behind this whole novel. It's kind of in the back. it's not in the forefront, it's very much in the back. So you have this whole thing that's happened that's really affected their future, and you're trying to figure out what has happened. I will say it's quite obvious what had happened. I think a lot of people can pick up on it. I don't think it's taking away from the book at all, but it is kind of an obvious thing. Overall, like I said, it's an enjoyable read. I don't think it's going to be a book that sticks with me for a long time. Kind of a guilty pleasure type of read, just a fun read to get through. Like I said, it's just the perfect book for medical drama lovers out there, which is, I love those, which I did love back in the day, but now I don't. But I still really enjoy this book. So yeah, I don't have much to say about this book other than that I enjoyed it, but I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to enjoy it. I thought it was just going to be a kind of blasé book, but I really like the medical terminology. I loved reading about how these friends came together and how they're really good friends and how they kind of balance like their work and their husbands and their kids' lives, and also, you know, going back to the past to figure out, you know, their medical history and like what they did and like residency. Oh my gosh, I can talk. So yeah, I feel like I can't say anything else about this book. It's just a quick, fun read about like medical drama. There you go. The last book I want to talk about is definitely my least favorite, and that is The Woman in the Window by A.G. Finn. This book has been hyped. When did this book come out? I don't even know. When did you come out? In January. It's been hyped ever since. A lot of people have been talking about it. A lot of people are saying it's like the new thriller book, and I did not enjoy it. I was really thinking that I would enjoy it, but I didn't. I think ever since Gone Girl, which by the way, I have not read Gone Girl because I watched the movie first. I don't know. But ever since Gone Girl, we have sparked up a whole thing of like the same type of trope of thriller books, especially the titles. Gone Girl, Woman in the Window, The Girl on the Train, The Woman in Cabin 10, you know, The Girl in the Night, something like that. I don't know. There's so many titles with the girl or woman in it, and I don't know if that's supposed to be like draw you in. That's like a buzzword or something. I don't know if I would agree with that, but I feel like ever since Gone Girl, we've had this kind of similar type of like trope, which I can't say Gone Girl is even like that because I don't think the plot was, I don't know. Anyway, I'm getting off on it. So basically, I did not enjoy this book. We have a main character named Anna Fox who lives alone in New York, and she is, oh my gosh, I can't ever say it correctly, agoraphobic. She is afraid to go outside pretty much, and so she's a recluse in her house, and she basically just kind of spies on her neighbors and like her stuff like that, and basically she sees something one night she shouldn't have seen, and there you go. That's your big plot point. You've probably heard that same thing said about a lot of other thriller books. I was expecting to like this book. I'm not gonna lie to you, I did, but I did not. Number one, this book is, I think, very, very lengthy for the thriller book. To me, I think a perfect thriller book is around 300 to 350 pages. This one was 430 pages. That's a long thriller book. I'm like, what the crap could have happened that we keep that intensified from that long? I feel the plot was kind of generic, but I still am interested in those plots, even though it was so much slamming on them. Number two, in this book, Anna is a very big fan of like black and white, like kind of classic movies and thrillers, and oftentimes the author would like leave them in like oh my gosh, idyllicized, I can't pronounce that right. So you would see her like say the lines with it, and at first it was really cool. I really enjoyed like reading that, like she was, you know, watching the movie and it very parallels her life, but then it got confusing and it got too many freaking references. It was just too much. I was like, oh my gosh. Also, the plot twist, I feel like there was 3 of them in here, maybe 2. I guessed all 3 of them, wasn't surprised by any 3 of them. I wasn't surprised by any of the plot twists at all, saw them coming. I think a lot of people could, and I'm a novice thriller reader. I've maybe read 10 thriller books, and so I'm still very new to the genre, and for the fact of me, that's still a very much newbie that doesn't know anything about thriller novels, could guess all the plot points, I did not like it. So, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm slamming this book a lot. It was enjoyable. The chapters are very, very short, so it is easy to fly through. I'm not gonna lie to you, I did skim it a little bit because it just got repetitive a ton. But I did enjoy, you know, learning about Anna and how she's dealing with her oh my gosh, agoraphobia, I'm so sorry, and how she's dealing with that, and a lot of her, you know, mental illness and things like that, and it's good to see her open up throughout the course of the book. But again, she was also, you know, she was also using a lot of pills for her condition, and she was drinking a lot, so I feel like that's another thing that happens in a lot of thriller books, is a lot of alcohol, which I'm like, I don't know, I didn't really enjoy the character Anna overall. I don't know. I gave this book 2.75, maybe 3. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm very disappointed in this book. I'm kind of upset I read it because I didn't like it that much, but I know I'm not the only one either because there is a ton of people on Goodreads that are feeling the exact same way. So I'm sorry if you love this book. I am so happy you love this book. I just did not. So there you have it, my thoughts and opinions on all 3 of these books. Obviously my favorite was The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna, who's surprised, but I did really enjoy The Queen of Hearts. And I'm sorry if I slammed on The Woman in the Window. If you have read any of these books, comment this video and tell me what you thought about them. Did you disagree with me? Did you agree? I would love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.
Let me just sit here